Yeah, this is the bottles.
Oh, yeah, I remember the bottles, the Coke bottles, those were the ones with the.
And that's what the machine.
It's like right there.
Oh, it's awesome.
Oh, even,
Yeah,
They may have some time
I did.
to put filter in, or they've been filling it out there to put it in. And the question is, 15 years from now.
Mine's Coke.
Okay. Yeah, especially, I'm sure.
They
when
go,
you
yes.
and,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's always the question, okay, we can do it now, but what about?
I don't know.
Are you ready to?
Yes, we're on.
Here we are.
Okay,
I'll call this commission meeting to order for Tuesday, December 18th. Please join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Commissioner Stacy, please.
If you bow your heads and join me for a brief prayer. Lord, in this glorious time of year when we celebrate the birth of your Son, may we all, amongst the busyness, the hustle, and the bustle, pause and reflect and enjoy the peace of the season and remember the reason. Be with us as we conduct business on behalf of the citizens of Seneca County today, and be with us all to have a safe and holiday season. In your name we pray. Amen.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Kirchner,
Here.
Commissioner Stacy,
Here.
Commissioner Thomas.
Here.
Okay, I'll accept the motion to approve the digital audio video recording of our previous session held December 13th.
So move?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy,
Yes.
Commissioner Kirchner.
Yes. Okay, do we have any adjustments that we want to add here today? We will begin with a proclamation that we have here somewhere. And Commissioner Stacy, would you like to present said proclamation?
Sure.
All right.
If I could ask Director Oliver to come forward. She's in the back of the room back here.
Kathy's in the house.
She's in the house. We had the honor of going down for the formal recognition for this in Columbus on Friday. And but we wanted to make sure we did do recognition here in the county. And so we have this proclamation for you, Kathy. Kathy Oliver, Ohio Department of Job and Family Services, was named Director of the Year. Whereas Kathy Oliver was named the Director of Seneca County Department of Jobs and Family Services in June of 2003. So she's been with us for 18 years, 15 years. But she has years that she was in Job and Family Service work prior to becoming our Director. Whereas under the leadership and guidance of Oliver, the organization has many successes and improvements. And whereas Oliver has focused on enhancing the many services that DJFS provides, she has used her experience and tact to enact positive change on programs related to workforce development, child and adult protective services, child care, child support, public assistance, and more. And whereas the Seneca County Board of Commissioners recognizes all of Oliver's hard work and also thanks her and her team of staff members for working to represent those who most in need in our community. And whereas Oliver is recognized by her peers within the Ohio Jobs and Family Services Directors Association when she was named State Director of the Year, December 14th. Oliver was applauded and commended by several other directors and leaders within Ohio, OJF, SDA. Many of, if not all, remarked on her level of professionalism and her kindness. And now therefore be it resolved that the Seneca County Board of Commissioners, in recognition of the accomplishments of Oliver and her Seneca County DJFS team, hereby recognize and proclaim Oliver as Ohio's Department of Job and Family Services Director of the Year. Kathy Oliver, 2018 Ohio DJFS Director of the Year. In witness, we here, the Board of Seneca County Commissioners, have hereunto set our hand and caused the great seal of the county to be affixed to this proclamation, this 14th day of December in the year of our Lord, 2018. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Kathy.
Thanks for coming, Kathy. Thank you.
So, the next item on the agenda would be to talk about Heidelberg College and our authority for them as a political subdivision. President Huntington, would you like to speak to this before we talk?
Yeah, we're Mr. Rui will also say something, is that all right?
Sure.
And then I'll say something, sure.
Can you introduce your
Sure.
folks here?
Do a
Sure, why don't we,
sign-up
as we sign up, well, why don't we, we'll do it ourselves. So Brad, you want to go first?
Sure, I'm Brad Rui. I'm with Dinsmore and Scholl from Cincinnati, and we're working with Heidelberg University on a financing, which we'll discuss in just a moment.
David?
I'm Dave Koenig with Fifth Third Bank, out of the Toledo office. Brought Mr. Rui along, we're also working with the university for this project.
And I'm Rod Morrison, Associate Vice President for Facilities for Heidelberg University.
My name is Hua Nguyen. First name spells H-O-A, last name is N-G-U-Y-E-N. I serve Heidelberg University as Vice President for Administration and Business Affairs / Chief Financial Officer.
And I'm Robert Huntington, I'm the president. Thank you.
Great. I'll provide you with a little bit of background information. I thought I would discuss maybe the process, the documentation, and a little bit about Seneca County's involvement with the financing. Then we'll turn it over to the university officials to talk a little bit more about the proposed project and capital improvements on campus. So just going back a few years, by way of background, in 2013, Seneca County served as the conduit issuer for tax-exempt lease revenue bonds for the benefit of the university. The principal amount of those obligations at that time was about $18.5 million. That has subsequently been paid down to a little bit more than $13 million outstanding on those obligations now. The resolution that is before your consideration this morning provides for a few purposes. First is the refunding of those Series 2013 bonds in whole, so just taking those out, so to speak. And then also providing financing for new capital improvements on the campus of Heidelberg University to the tune of about $18.5 million, as well as capitalized interest, as well as paying for some of the costs of issuance. When you aggregate all those, the taking out of the 2013 financing, the proposed new capital improvements of a little over $18 million, and the other miscellaneous costs, we come to about $36.5 million in a proposed financing. Where the county comes in is state and local governments are able to act as conduit issuers, as you did in 2013, to give Heidelberg University and other similar 501c3s the ability to issue tax-exempt obligations. And that's the goal with this particular proposed financing, is tax-exempt obligations. Let me point out a little bit of a nuance between the 2013 financing and this proposed financing. In 2013, the maturity date of those obligations is currently September of 2031. With the proposed financing, there will actually be a significant reduction in the proposed maturity. What's being proposed for the 2019 obligations, and it's expected that these obligations would be issued sometime in the first quarter of 2019, it's proposed that maturity date would be about a 3-year maturity date. So sometime in latter part of 2021 is when the 2019 obligations would mature. And the reason for that is, if you look at this as more of being kind of a bridge financing during the construction period for these relatively significant improvements, that's expected to take about 3 years. The university has been working with USDA, that's the United States Department of Agriculture, on a long-term financing, which is thought to be pretty efficient. The rates that USDA is providing would be pretty efficient. So the 2019 obligations would be privately placed and purchased by a financial institution. That's Fifth Third Commercial Funding would finance those for a 3-year period of time, and then 3 years later those would be taken out or refinanced in a sense by USDA, and that would not involve the county. So the county, in a sense, would be out of the financing within 3 years, as opposed to being out in 2031 under the current financing. Just to give you some assurances, the repayment source, the security for these bonds, will be solely the revenues and pledged receipts of Heidelberg University. They are revenue obligations. They're also secured by a mortgage on parcels, essentially the main part of the campus of Heidelberg. There is no full faith and credit pledge from the county. No tax monies or tax revenues of the county would be used or pledged to pay these obligations. Very similar to the 2013. In no way will these obligations implicate or have any impact or effect on the county's direct or indirect debt limitations. It's debt limitations in general. These are solely revenue obligations of the university and payable solely by the university. But to add another layer of protection on that, there will also be an indemnity agreement, an environmental and general indemnity provided from the university to the county, which will provide complete and comprehensive indemnification to the county for debt service payments, for potential tortious actions, somebody slipped and fell or something like that, you'd be covered under that. I had one additional point to make. Oh, yeah, just in terms of process and procedure. Because we're calling these economic development bonds, in this case refunding and improvement bonds, we're utilizing Chapter 165 of the Ohio Revised Code. That requires approval of the Community Improvement Corporation, which, as I understand it, already occurred on November 27th. So that was the first step in the process. This is the second step in the process, and will actually be the final legislative step. And then at that point, we're working on documentation and working on the right time to actually issue the obligations. The county's council has reviewed the documentation, so that's Squire, Patton, and Boggs, Alex Burlingame, and I've worked closely with him to get the documents to a place where he's comfortable with. And he sent us, Nikki and me, an email saying that he signed off on the documents in terms of where they stand right now. So that's kind of a little bit about the process and the procedure. And then I'm glad to turn it over to the university to explain a little bit more about the capital program that they're proposing to move forward with.
This is an awkward place to stand because I can't maintain eye contact with the full audience here, so I'll do my best. Pardon me if I turn my shoulder a little bit. So just on behalf of Heidelberg University, we appreciate this opportunity to be here today. And then following Brad's comments, I'll just explain a little bit more about what the project is really all about. And because I live in this town, this is my town too, we share that. I think, and Mr. Morrison does too, I feel that everybody here, and as if the whole town were in this room, deserves to appreciate that. The AT reported, I think on Friday or Saturday, largely from our press release, so some of that detail was included in there. But what we are doing, building on the last 9 years of work, is to continue the transformation of Heidelberg to make us better prepared and more well aimed at serving our students. And what this big recapitalization is all about, the recapitalizing of existing debt and the opportunity to acquire new capital through the federal USDA program through this 3-year interim period with the help of Fifth Third Bank and your support, is to do a better job of student living and that whole experience, student learning and that whole experience, and student engaging in all the spaces that students engage. And so the 7 projects that would be done, the 7 renovations and restorations of existing buildings, and the couple of new ones that would be done inside of that 28 to 30 month window, which is essentially the 3-year interim financing that we need from Fifth Third Bank, takes aim at that. And so, as I think that we tried to explain in part in the press release, we want to come out and finish off the France Hall historic restoration and renovation of that building. We've fundraised a lot of money, and we're set, and we have historic tax credits for that. This would top that off. And at the same time, we want to build new townhouse apartments on our property to give new, additional, different type of housing for students as well. And so that's part of the living part. At the exact same time we're going to do that, we want to do a renovated learning space, which is our Media Communication Center, and to redo that space so that we are able to support our new video game production major, and also have a student affairs extracurricular activity where students, if they want to participate within academic affairs to do esports gaming, they can, but we're going to house it inside academic affairs because it's part of the learning experience, the research, and the development. So we're treating that differently than something that could be housed in an athletic department. We take a different approach to that. So those are 3 projects, and as we wind our way through those, then we have an opportunity to go back to the living space, and Miller Hall, which is our largest existing residence hall, about 180 beds. If France Hall will then make 70 beds available, and townhouse apartments will add 60 new beds, when those are both done, because right now France Hall is closed, so 70 plus 60 is 130, we shut those, we open those up. Miller is about 180 beds, and it's a 5-story building, correct? We have to do that. It's 50, 55, 60 years old. It needs to be redone. So that's the most expensive ticket on what turns out to be about $19 million of new investment money in this full package, 19.8. It's about $8 million just to do Miller. That's the largest one of the three. And as we're doing that, then we can do 2 other learning spaces, which include in Barris/Gilmore Hall, our science facility, a very important lecture hall is called Frost Lecture Hall. And that hasn't been remodeled and remediated to modern technology for a long, long time. So we are able to spend money there with new capital. And then do a smaller learning space in the very historic, the space that attaches to Founders Hall and Gunlock Theater. There's a little spot called a Little Theater, and it really is a little theater, but it's a mini lecture hall with a little space for performing. Just to give you a sense of scale, that's the least expensive new investment, to renovate that for about $160,000. So about $8 million for Miller Hall, about $160,000 for Little Theater. That's the 6th project, and when it fits within the construction schedule, working with architects and builders to use the money most efficiently, then we will do the Student and Community Welcome Center, which will go in front of the library, in front of Beagley, with a facing towards the historic downtown. And as the historic downtown has come towards our campus, particularly with the East Green Amphitheater, and now what is the additional splash pond park that will be, I'm sure, renamed towards to Rock Creek, then we want to have a front door to our campus that will have a 50 to 60 seat space that we will use for all of our admissions and recruitment, but will also be open to be used by public for activities. And we are going to take our somewhat hidden and somewhat limited existing bookstore and move it to that location in a much bigger, more prominent location. And because there will be a front door facing the historic downtown and a front door on the other side facing the campus, it's 2 front doors, that bookstore will be a full-blown legitimate bookstore. And we expect to outsource manage that, if needed, to make it a real bookstore, to serve the community and to serve our campus. And that project then, which is brand new, we own the 2 houses that we would take down right on the corner to build that. So when you add all of those 7 projects up in about 28 to 30 months, it's a rapid attempt to get at better living, better learning, and better engaging spaces. The total of those projects should add up to about $19.8 million. And if it, our understanding, USDA, it can't go over that. If we don't need all the money, then the loan comes down from that number, and we can't trade off dollars. It's fixed on each project. So we've locked in on that, and we either do it or we don't. We do it for at most that cap. And so with the help of your support, then we can do the interim financing with Fifth Third Bank, and David's been very helpful. And our existing debt is with Fifth Third Bank, and so this would extend that at very favorable terms when the USDA takes out the interim loan. They've been very supportive along the way. But we can't get there, we can't get to our students, and we can't do all of that work without your support, commissioners. And so I'll sit down and you can ask us anything you want, but hopefully you'll be supportive of this. This has been about 18 months of hard work to do this. We've never done this before, and because the Tiffin Seneca County qualifies as a rural development area, we think and we hope that this is our continuing signal to the community that there's no such thing as Heidelberg without Tiffin and Seneca County. We wouldn't have moved and lived here if we didn't believe that. And now in my 10th year, this is what we're attempting to do all the time. And this is a major, major investment, and our board is 100% behind it. They have voted to support that. And so to put that amount of new money invested into all these construction projects, new and renovated, and to continue to manage our affairs wisely and build successful enrollment toward those goals of graduation is our purpose. Thank you.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you, Rob.
Did you want to add anything that I may have gotten wrong? Or? Made a mistake. You better say it now.
No mistakes.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, well, let us get a motion on the floor for the resolution, and then we can have some additional discussion if you so desire. I will just read the first paragraph because it's kind of a summary. There is a lot more. But the resolution is authorizing the issuance, with Seneca County being the conduit issuer, and sale of not to exceed $36,500,000 aggregate principal amount for Seneca County Economic Development, Improvement, and Refunding Revenue Bonds, Series 2019, Heidelberg College, to be issued in one or more series for the purpose of financing and/or refinancing the cost of projects as defined within this document. Authorizing and signing delivery of a bond financing agreement to provide for a loan of bond proceeds to Heidelberg College, to provide for the issuance of and securing the payment of loan payments payable on the Series 2019 bonds. Also authorizing the signing and delivery of certain other documents and instruments in connection with and the taking of actions necessary or desirable to effect the issuance of the Series 2019 bonds, and authorizing and approving related matters. So,
I will move that resolution.
okay.
And I will second. It does say university.
Heidelberg, did I say college?
Twice, but that's
Old habits are a
I
cut
was,
to break.
I was gonna say something about that, but I said
So,
it.
thank you, Commissioner Stacy. When I was hired, Mr. President Kirschner was one of my bosses, so I heard him say that too, but I figured I could let it go. But we are a university
Mea
now.
culpa, mea maxima.
No worries. Thank you.
Any additional discussion?
And I just want to compliment you for all the great work down there. Obviously, Heidelberg is an important part of the county, and it really changes the cultural landscape for the whole county, and we really appreciate that. I think one thing we all agree upon is, to the extent that there was ever a customary fee that would be associated with this, offering this privilege, we would certainly not collect that, because we believe in the mission and what the Heidelberg adds to the community. So
Thank you, Commissioner
I'm
Thomas.
glad to be a
Thank
part of
you.
it.
That's great, yeah, we have lots of discussions about lots of dollar amount projects here to add an additional $20 million basically to the community, and it really is to the community, as President Huntington said, it's all of us. So, I am as happy as I can be to vote on this thing, so roll call,
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirsch?
absolutely.
Commissioners, can I make just one
Yes.
point of order? Technically, under the Internal Revenue Code, it is necessary to conduct a public hearing as well.
Okay.
So if it is possible to open up a public hearing, ask for comments, and then close it, we'd be
Yeah,
appreciative.
I thought that the CIC, by virtue of that approval, you've got that done, but, okay, so we will hereby open a public hearing to discuss the potential resolution and to discuss whether or not Seneca County, I guess we've already approved this being the conduit, but if there's any discussion about this particular topic and our involvement in the topic, we're happy to have any discussion.
And there's a sign-up sheet that went around for the purposes of a hearing.
Yeah.
You can have.
David, Zach, do you have something to share with the group?
I was asking Jimmy if, as a public hearing, if it has to be announced in advance.
A 24-hour notice?
Oh,
It was
so
in the agenda.
Okay, perfect, okay.
The agenda says hearing.
it was also
It says
published.
It was published in the paper. I
Talking to the
think.
communications person, so I want to make sure.
Would you like to opine on the positive nature of this project?
I brought it. I brought it. And also our vice president did. Got it right here. We're gonna follow the rules 100%. Thank you.
Does it say university?
Commissioner Thomas asked me if I want to say anything. I think I'll keep my comments very brief there of gratitude that we have such a wonderful institution and economic and learning intellectual asset in this community. It's amazing to see the investment that Heidelberg University has put into facilities, but that investment is with an intention, and that intention is to change the lives of students so that they can help change this world for the better. In so doing, they make this community better. So the $19.8 million of a continued strategic plan to make Heidelberg not necessarily bigger and better, but increasingly improve on the quality of the experience. What a wonderful corporate and educational neighbor and folks to have here. So congratulations on getting to this point, and I really thank the commissioners for supporting it. We were having to do a very teeny little part by putting a support letter. It was a pleasure more than a job. So yeah, I couldn't be more thrilled. Thank you, Commissioner Thomas, for allowing me the opportunity to make those comments.
Okay, so the hearing is hereby open. Any other comments? If not, we will close the hearing. I know we kind of got the cart before the horse here, but I think that the desire of the board was to have the hearing and then make the motion to be the conduit issuer.
Good
Any
luck.
discussion about that?
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You're gonna.
Congratulations.
Thank you very
You're gonna
much.
bulk this now, don't you? Stuff, you know.
Wow, we gotta get back to work.
Can you do a picture with the Heidelberg folks real quick?
They're in their suits and wearing our.
Yeah.
Suit on. I
We're
know.
in ours. Oh, yeah, no. I can't do that.
I want out of the picture.
Let's just go over here.
Let's
Great.
just go over here. Go on.
I'd hide in the back, but
Still.
Why did you have to be in
you're
front?
probably not gonna let me.
Want us to go every other person? How do you want, or do you sprinkle around a little bit?
There we go.
Yeah.
How's that work?
That should work.
All right.
Does that work?
Shake hands.
Shake hands, all right?
A three-way handshake or you have?
What about you? There we go.
Wants to make the pose.
I'll take a couple here. Okay, I'm good to go. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you,
Thanks for coming.
Thank
congratulations.
you so much.
Good luck.
This is a real shame. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good luck. Yep.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and we aren't offended if you need to.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Brad. Are you related to Dan, Thank you. Alvin
I always remember what time of year it is.
It's always good to have bankers and attorneys in this room, right?
Thank you.
As always.
Thank you.
All right.
Sorry, I took your seat.
Okay, now we,
Now it looks like church because there's
Yeah.
nobody in the front row.
Really? Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
okay. Nobody's preaching. Seneca County Community Council.
Yeah, a year ago, I presented to it. It's the nonprofits in Seneca County. They get together periodically and exchange ideas and whatnot. So they just invited one of us to come speak to it. It's a really nice group of all the leaders of the nonprofits. So if
On
somebody-
February 5th?
I forget.
That's the date. that
Yeah.
it is.
Okay, there you go.
Yep.
So if one of you would like to,
They meet at lunchtime.
it's a lunch.
Lunch meeting thing. I know I did it.
You'll
2
know
years ago.
everybody in the room, and they're all
It don't
great.
matter.
It was they're super great people. Are you
Yes,
not back
one
in
of us.
town?
I could very well be. I just don't have a schedule in front of me, but
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll check it.
I'll give you guys first
Okay.
option on it since
Okay.
I
we
did
can
it
even
last
do
year.
a duet.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll look at the calendar
All right.
and see what we can do.
Well, that was easy.
That was easy.
Okay, what am I missing? Anything else?
Not for, no.
No, okay, let's go on to new business then. Other new business, approving supplemental appropriations.
Okay. I have resolution approving all supplemental appropriation and appropriation adjustments submitted to the VIP system for the board session of December 18th, 2018. The first one that's on the agenda, we do not need. That should have been taken back off the agenda.
This
So
one?
the 15,000, no, just what's on your agenda. It was
Okay.
actually printed on the agenda.
All right.
The second one is a request from Common Pleas 2. They are doing an additional $3,559.73 between other expense, equipment, contract services. And we have the next request from the auditor's office. They're working on wrapping up the end of year for the sales tax fund. She's doing a supplement of $583,322.39 into the transfers out.
She's doing a reduction of $5,828.42 from other expense and increasing the interest line by a penny. And next one is a request from, I think this one wasn't on the agenda, from Common Pleas 1. She called this morning and asked if we could get this on. She's doing a supplemental appropriation to her other expense out of her special projects fund for $6,286.23. Make sure that's all I have on here. That's all those. Then I have a resolution authorizing an agreement with Stantec Consulting Services for 2019 on behalf of the Seneca County Airport. I have a resolution authorizing an amendment for the contract between the City of Tiffin and the Seneca County Prosecutor's Office. I have a resolution establishing the Bureau of Justice Assistant Grant Fund, fund number 1415 for Common Pleas Courts. Looks like they've got a
Is this a new one that they've
grant.
been?
Yeah, the amount not to exceed 500,000. So we
Yeah.
must have got their funding.
That's the one we have to keep a real close eye on
Okay.
because it's gonna come through in the holidays.
Okay.
There's only like 10 places in the country that are gonna eligible for this.
Okay.
so.
All right. And I think that's all I have.
Okay.
Move to approve as presented.
I've got a couple questions.
Sure.
What, the amendment to the contract, did we see that for,
Which one, for the City of Tiffin?
yeah,
It is in that stack somewhere.
Yeah, it's right here.
It's just the increase. The original amendment had like a percentage increase, and they spelled it out in the amendment.
because I was looking for this information at budget time and I did it, so I'd like to pull that out and review that.
Oh,
before.
yeah, it's a very, very short. I don't.
Yeah.
This, yeah, that. All they're doing is amending the amount.
All right, well, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to take a look at that.
Sure.
That's right.
And Stantec, what's our cost there?
And I was gonna ask that too, because that's an ongoing contract, but we do still renew it or authorize it each year?
Yeah.
Because it was a 3 or 5 year, put out the request for
Yes,
proposals
yep.
and granted that.
Yeah.
Maximum 4,500 unless amended by us.
It's just their general,
Consultant.
yeah, services fee.
And is any of that reimbursable from the FAA?
Not this one, no.
So we put this retainer on
Yes.
with them at 4,500
Yes.
annually,
Yep.
and we haven't bid that or taken that out since we switched to Stantec
Correct.
3 or 4 years ago.
Correct.
Yep, the
Correct.
FAA asked us to do that a few years ago.
Yeah.
And that's when we got,
They detail what their costs are up to that 4,500.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, I think they do a nice job for us, but you know, they keep a tight rein on it. I just wasn't
Yep.
sure what the contract piece was.
Okay, anything else? So you got a motion, but you're gonna withdraw the city amendment?
Right.
Yeah, that's fine.
And you'll
So there's a
second that then?
second, yeah.
Any additional discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Kirschner?
Yes. Anything else for the agenda? It's time for.
I've got just one
Yeah.
thing I just wanted to bring up, kind of socialize it, maybe for our reorganization. As one of the things that I think could help, pass on down, Stacy, help us a little bit in our communication here as commissioners is if we added to the agenda county administrator report, and so she could update, you know, departments, buildings, ground, budget, and finance, and we could have a regular, kind of weekly update on those if there's anything to report. And then instead of doing agenda adjustments, just have commissioner reports. That way if we have anything that's, the mic kind of automatically rotates to us, and if we spoke at a group or we on a board, that we could just report back in there and not necessarily have it affect the agenda. Just some of my thoughts for organization. So I just put it down on paper so that we could talk about it at reorganization, and I just wanted to get it out there so you guys
Sure.
have some time to think
Yeah,
about it.
I don't have any problem with that. The only comment that I would make is if there's gonna be anything in the commission reports that require some type of conversation, if we could get those in advance.
Sure.
So we at least have them.
Yeah, any action item I wouldn't assume would be in there, but, just as an opportunity for us to communicate information.
I think that's fine. Okay, anything else? Time for public comment, if there is any? Anyone? Okay, if not, 11:35, we are adjourned. Welcome forward, Elliot.
Did they explain that?
Not fair. That was not fair.
You take it off.